That seemed to work that time. Awesome. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Leading Crypto. This is TA Tuesday. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, DXY, most likely the SPX as well. Jumping right into it as always. We come to you live as early as possible around that 10 a.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday, just going straight technicals, right? It's where the charts are king and the news doesn't matter. Joined as always with I'm CEO with Magic Internet Money and Burr Max, and bringing you some Xmas week statistical areas here. So if that is interesting, make sure you like and subscribe, and we're just going to jump right on in.
Right on. Yeah, let me get my screen up and we'll roll. Actually getting a little bit of movement here. So this is an area we've been kind of looking for. That December open, that 17K region, and I will tell you it is a boxed off region. Main reason I'm looking at this is we've now hit the value area low, or at least the TPO value area low, front running our daily level here, but getting a good bounce. I didn't catch all this move. I did manage to get in around 16.5 here on these candles and ride it up to 16.8, which is your previous day value area high. Not really looking to do much after that, just because, it was an intraday trade for me, and it was something I wasn't managing. I did preset for that, or not preset, but I did preset my exit and just be done with it because I'm not going to be monitoring it. I do have some holiday stuff coming up, but we're coming into some areas that are going to be of interest to me anyway, and this is the first one. And 17,148 is that monthly area we've been discussing. And it's a really big area, in my opinion, to really get through. And the reason being is, again, if we zoom out to the monthly time frame or even the quarterly time frame, which we'll do both here actually in just a second, you can see that the Q2 low has really been held as support. Well, it was supposed to be support here, and we've now opened and closed below it and back tested into it. So not something you really want to see on the high time frames. So would be important to get back above 17.5. But the December open itself is going to be pretty key on this monthly close, because if we're going to make that attempt to get back in this old range and put in any kind of a formal bounce here, it's going to start on the monthly chart. In my opinion, it's going to start with that monthly open getting reclaimed and maybe putting in like a nice doji candle down here and setting up a larger range before a move potentially. So do keep that in mind. But, if we don't, obviously there's support to the downside. I really don't see any reason why this daily down here at 15,744 outside of the target for the shark. If you guys recall, we do have a shark here that was coming in here. This was the area we were looking for. If you were to look at this just from a standpoint of what should I be doing in terms of trading, first take profit is the 50%, or the B leg also happens to be near the point of control. So kind of a zone for that first take profit. And then after that, you're actually aiming for the 886. So you do have the 886 down here, then the 113% retracement down to the 1618, which comes in confluence down at the bottom. So that's like the real high time frame look at it. Direction is down until otherwise. I think if you reclaim 17.5, and what I mean by that is come up here and actually hold it as support, then yeah, we can start taking a look at the potential of running this up, in my opinion, to probably like 19,150 to 19,600, and then maybe even higher after that. The obvious zone of resistance above is right here. But that's really not something that's worth discussing until the criteria is met at 17.5 being reclaimed and held as support, and not seeing selling taking place in there or moves like this. So if we are to get some kind of a leg down over the holidays here, targets are still the same, 13,880 down to that 10K region. It really is a region. And then from there, we'd be looking, in my opinion, for a pretty hefty bounce. So we'll see if we front run that and get a bounce first, or if we just continue to range here. So what were we looking at here? I think, the monthly time frame. So why is 17K so important? You can see this is your monthly point of control coming in this region, right? I think we had a New York session POC as well right here that was front run just a little bit. So this was on TradingView how I pulled it, though. I don't know what XO had for it. So just kind of depends, probably a little bit of a discrepancy there. But the bounce is in line with ATAS as well. This was the area we were looking for. And I think I have it in the group. I'll pull it up here on this, though. Let me just clear out this chart just a little bit. We'll bring it on over. So in reality, you were looking at this as an overall range, and the TPO value area low is what gave you the play at 16,310. I think we did wick beneath that, but That was the level you would be looking for, backed up by that daily and the value area low from a profile standpoint. And you can just see here the merged range that as it comes into, there is your support. So what did we talk about on Wednesday last week with Sin City Crypto, also Debate Crypto? There were a lot of Twitter accounts looking to long 16.5 to 16.6. Not a good long, in my opinion. Reason being is, well, it's right in the middle of the range. We all know how I feel about doing anything in the middle of the range. It's a bad idea. It makes no sense to deviate the range and then not come back to the value area low, basically. So this was the area to be watching for. And if this area is lost, I just don't expect this level to hold. I think at that point, it's probably a bounce. Maybe you get the deviation, maybe you don't. But more than likely, I would assume you're going to get some more, probably another low, another new low, I should say. Now, the question is, will that actually... You guys can probably hear my dog aggressively drinking his water. He waited till now. The question will be, will we hit like 15,000, get that 113% retrace, or does it come all the way down to like the 1618 and complete a much larger idea with like a deep crab, more of a zone in terms of that PCZ. But that's, again, getting ahead of ourselves because we have a range to trade. So most important level is going to be the December open here in the short term. And that is going to be your local from high to low here in terms of gold pocket, right? You can see that's coming in here. That's why it's boxed off as a zone between 17K and about 17,200. And reason being is that's also going to be your weekly averages, right? So the pivots are coming in there. So this is also an anchored VWAP for the overall range, just right here. You can see it's gotten some play. It's not something that I would really use to trade off of. It's just, if you take a long from down here, first take profit's obviously going to be, your POC. Then we were looking for previous day value area high at 16,800. Next one would be this gold pocket and these weekly pivots and the average of the range, the VWAP. So that is really all I've got. Got to get above 17.2 basically. You get above 17.2, I think not only will you challenge 17.5, the only trade available to you at that time is going to be a sweep of this high right here, in my opinion, if you were to short this early, because I do think that's the overall gold pocket as well, coming in at the 17,567 right here. So you would see that you'd have a secondary box to start putting in this region. I would just mark off that high, and then I would mark off my gold pocket. And just understand that the trade at this time is if you take this high, once it's given back up as a swing fail, that's when you enter short on confirmation and you take it back down to, support, which again comes in at 17,148-ish, and then again at the point of control. So a very, very simple range to be trading throughout the week. And that's really all I've got on Bitcoin. SPX, so this was the SPX chart, or is the SPX chart. We were looking for this reversal in this zone. The hard part on this one was the timing. Did kind of mess up the timing a little bit, not too much. It was off by a few days. So not the end of the world, but like I've said before, we're not aiming for perfection. We're just trying to get the idea correct and be on the right side of it. Obviously, you got a gap down and then kind of filled in that, or yeah, you gapped up and then you gapped back down into that to fill it. And now you've hit the shark 50% mark, which is, again, the first target of a shark. So if this does not hold, we look down towards the 2021 low, and then we're going to be looking at, can we make a new low? And does this trend right here that you've been in for a year now continue? Would be the question. So it's really all I've got. I think that's everything.
Let me mute myself.
Yeah.
So where we're coming into now, we're coming into a daily naked point of control from the 16th, which was last Friday. So we're coming up towards the point of control, and there is the local golden pocket, which Magic had on his screen a minute ago. In this area, now the thing that I'm really looking at in this area right now, yeah, I agree with Nick there, Magic. That was a great update, actually. Just to comment on that. But yeah, where we're coming up to now is also some single prints. So we have to be aware of them. So again, it's from Friday, but you can see here we've got a single print. And again, I'm joining these two splits together because this is just where one candle closed and then it continued. So joining these single prints together, we have them from $17,087 all the way up to $17,312. So, it's a rather big area to keep an eye on. I believe it's just over a percentage. So, definitely keep an eye on that as we come into it, because, initially you can expect a rejection from the level, but once broken, well, then you can look for the higher end of the single print. So keep that in mind, mark them on your charts. It's certainly something to be aware, especially where we are right now. They're rather close. I would be surprised if we don't come up and tap them. But going to the footprint chart, as you can see, what we mentioned yesterday played out somewhat. It did go deeper than I had mentioned in the video, came down to the val of the range. But you can see from the analysis that we had, where you could tell there was a ton of longs coming in, that it wasn't really going to play out too well for them all. And you can see the huge decrease in open interest we got. Granted, no positions changing hands initially, but the real clear sign was the fact that you've had such a huge volume spike. And zooming in here so you guys can spot it, you can see you had $57 million in that candle. That's absolutely huge. In fact, what was the volume for yesterday? The volume for yesterday, like total, was 337. So what's that, sixth, just over? That's a huge amount of volume in one candle. So you've had the huge volume spike, and then on the next candle, on the 5-minute template, 5-minute time frame, you did get buying imbalances after the wick. Now, granted, would be panicking at this point after you've had such a huge drop. So it's understandable if anyone didn't get in here. But this is your signal after you've had such a huge volume spike. You always get volume spikes at the end of trends. So volume should be increasing with the trend. And then when you get that huge volume spike, normally you get them at the tops and bottoms of trends. Go back on any chart and have a look. You'll spot at the ends of a trend, normally you have a huge candle with a volume spike, and then it then comes back and retraces, or as it has here, regained some ground. So you've got a volume spike. So it's kind of like a market overview thing where you're like, okay, maybe I should be looking for another trade. Then you're kind of getting here arguably a delta switch up, but it's kind of indecision in the fact that, okay, initially you had a delta switch up, we had 3.2 million there. That's a very strong positive delta. But then you did have some indecision here. So I can understand why some traders may have held off somewhat. But, if you're looking at it really, it kind of is showing that this huge downtrend that you've just had, this huge drop, is coming to an end. You have got a delta switch up. They're really trying here. Granted, the open interest isn't all that, but I mean, if I zoom in, I bet it looks a bit better. There we go. So you are getting positive open interest on these candles. They were just being dwarfed by this one. If I make that a bit bigger and zoom out, you can see you are getting positive open interest on these candles. So you can see here on the footprint, buyers are interested. You're getting buying imbalances here. You're getting one or two selling imbalances, but they're coming on, declining open interest. So it's not shorts still entering. The shorts are done. They've had their fun. They're just going to pay themselves from now on. So you're going to see candles where you've got positive delta, low open interest, or negative open interest as them shorts close. But then you're also going to see positive open interest where buyers are coming in, and you do really get it at the lows. Absolutely devastated that it came at 2:30 in the morning for me, because I wanted this so bad. But it is what it is. Shit happens, and we move. Now, the trades today, thus far, I will say they have been rather slow. I've not been trading myself. I've been doing some work on a piece of the course that we've got. But you've had a swing failure pattern over here. That is the only trade I can see initially, but granted, it's not really been that good until, well, just when we were sat in the waiting room for the stream to start. You can see here you had a huge, I say huge, again, another volume spike towards the low. You're getting volume spike down here. This is some of the highest volume you've seen thus far in this day, 11 million, huge negative delta, but granted the open interest isn't there. So some positions changing hands there. Okay, it's kind of a hint of what's to come. Then you're getting some shorts try and come in this candle. And instead what occurs? Well, they are absolutely sent to oblivion in the next one, where you have huge volume on this spike, loads of buying imbalances. Granted, doesn't look the healthiest of candles, so that is to be aware of. However, what has happened up here, whenever you get these short squeezes, what do you have to see in order to sustain the trend? Because you've got the momentum here, and you need momentum and volume, obviously, to show a strong trend. But what else do you need to see specifically in this market where, futures, where you have open interest? We need to see the buyers come in and continue. And what have we had up here? In this candle here, you've had a huge spike in open interest with a very large sum of them being buyers. You've got 4.1 million aggressive buyers up here, which is great for this trend as long as they're not put underwater. So this looks okay for now. And we just missed testing these single prints just then, but I would say this looks okay to go and test the single prints. Then I would reassess at that time. So I really can't really say too much other than keep an eye on them single prints, and then we have to come back into the charts and reassess. But losing some of these levels, specifically, what one can do is mark the high out, which was the high. I imagine it's the Asia high for the day. Sorry, I've not really got it up on my other chart to double check. But I'd imagine that's the Asia high from up here. It is the Asia high. So I would keep an eye on that level. As long as that is held and you don't have like a huge amount of selling take place below this level, I'd say that you're set to go and test some single prints. And again, I would say the same thing again, where you have to hold this level to then, if you get the rejection from the single prints, but then come back down to this level, hold it and bounce back up. That shows you that the buyers that have come in here in this candle here, they've also got some extra money on the side to then continue to push the market higher in the direction that they want to get to them higher prices, because the market makers will have filled their bags down here. There's no doubt about it. They would have been taking positions on the other side of this trade on all these liquidations, taking longs. Now they're taking us up somewhere where they want to start to offload on their long positions. So, yeah, I would say this is definitely going to test higher here, but that is the level to hold for me. And that is actually all I've got. So really quick, I apologize for that, but we just tapped the local golden pocket, but there's that. But yeah, CVO, all up to you.
Beautiful, man. No, nice update from both you guys as always. So once again, we're coming into some areas we've been looking for here. So I didn't make the show yesterday for us in the morning, but we covered this idea coming into the week pretty heavily on the members only market update in the Leading Crypto Discord on Sunday after the weekly close. Actually touched on this quite a bit last night as well on Debate Crypto. So every Monday night, go on Debate Crypto. Make sure you guys are giving those guys a follow. They put on a really great show. So just a little bit on the shorter time frame, what we're looking at here. Coming in a Friday, right? We had this untapped daily down here. This was also the local golden pocket from the recent low to high from November up to our monthly level up here at 1350. So this was an area we were looking for bounce potential, a little bounce territory, so to speak. Obviously, we've got that. This came in on the weekend, however, and same thing as Bitcoin, kind of just, ran this area for a little bit. Everybody probably built us some longs, stop loss below low, runs the low, and then away we go, right? So as far as where we are right now, it's kind of correlating with, with Bitcoin, right? We wanted to see the weekly open reclaimed. When we dropped down in this region yesterday, we wanted to see the daily level reclaimed as far as, upside. That was the potential trigger here. And then for me, I'm targeting this weekly level up here. I've got this little area boxed off just because, this is also the monthly value area low. And then, breaking through this region, you got the 0.5 in this area. And then the golden pocket, which aligns well with kind of what Magic was pushing out there for or presenting for Bitcoin, right? They both kind of have these small peaks over here, which align well with their golden pockets for Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? So will we get up to that region is the question. This definitely a good amount of resistance above us here, and for Ethereum, this little percentage window kind of aligns with single prints for Bitcoin, right? So it's just be interesting to see, kind of like how Max said, we'll see. Have to reevaluate once we get to this region. I'm personally in a long from the daily, and I'll probably be closing that out here in a second at the weekly here at 12:30. And potentially looking to flip short and take this down, depending on how we react up at this area. Coming in from last week, the game plan was, potentially looking for the SFP of this monthly level at the time as well. This, was the November 10th high. We definitely got, that reaction on Bitcoin. We didn't necessarily get as much of a push higher, at least on Bybit here for Ethereum, but that definitely was the play, was the short from the monthly level. I actually, unfortunately, missed this one. I didn't enter it just because, like I said, I was waiting. By the time everything unfolded, it was such a quick move. However, I did get in on the back test of the previous week value area high. Then I got in on the back test of the previous week low. So I took 2 shorts on the way down, 1 long on the way up, and potentially looking to take another short on the way down here. Depending on how things really react at this weekly level. Shout out to T-Bone in the group also. So this is the T-Bone shark, right? So he pointed this out in the group last night, potential shark here with a, obviously a target coming up to the B leg. I threw on the 0.5 here because he did also note that this has potential, obviously, of turning into a 5.0, which would have to come up into this region and then continue on downward. So either way, this one of the targets here, main B leg, has been met right here. And so we're just kind of paying attention to see how things go. But just a shout out to T-Bone. He's always crushing it with, the charts in the group, along with many others there. But yeah, so really just kind of, seeing how things unfold with this. I was, we don't really get into the news. And this is like a move that, we had been anticipating. Like I said, we thoroughly mapped out this exact movement here, and at least to this region. Once again, could we pop up to here? Absolutely. But we talked about this on Sunday night, right? And then one thing I've been I really held off on putting it out there publicly for a bit. We've been talking about it in the group for several weeks, just because, once again, everybody falls in love with these things. And we really try to, remain as neutral as possible and really don't get into it until things like this unfold. But it's that Christmas bat, right? And the one thing about this for me, and I'm going to turn off some of this because it just looks a little crazy. The one interesting point of this is that we do have another time pivot coming in, and it's tomorrow, the 21st, right? So whether or not that this is the date that this kind of unfolds and we meet these lower levels here, if we even do, is the question. But, definitely if, coming into this region tomorrow would be, a sensible move here. Reason I say that as well, once again, not to get married to this idea, but we have other things of confluence wrapped around these lower areas, right? Coming back down to plus, potentially sub 1K short term. And that's this untapped daily that we left back here from literally June, right? We've got the 886 down here as well. We've got both these wick lows that have not been taken. You now have these areas right here as well. So potentially, if we don't get back above, for me, it's 1225 conclusively, right? So literally like holding that, pretty well. Reason being, if we kind of go out to our higher time frame here, it's at Q2 POC. So coming up and tagging that 1230 region, right? That weekly level, and losing it, coming back down below, I would imagine that we, have really good potential to come down and finally take out this untapped daily. And once again, more so that this is an area, not like an exact level where, I'm not saying, that we'd see something like we just come down to, 1038 and turn around. More than likely, we would probably blow through this area pretty decently, take out both of these areas right here. And then once again, kind of have to reevaluate. And what you'd be looking for at that point is this, right? You lose that level, reclaim. And then from there, agreeing with Magic on the idea, if we're going to see lows like this out of ETH, that's going to be in line with the potential for that shark to play out, potentially down, to some lower levels on Bitcoin, where the bounce would be pretty significant, right? So, because effectively you'd be coming through, you'd be taking out all the lows now. Essentially, we still have the low from June. So, that is something to kind of keep in mind. I brought that up many times. So if we lose this low on Ethereum, though, it's probably a quick move. And I wouldn't say quick, but it's probably a move down to the devil's basement, right? It's that 528 area, which I don't necessarily know if we're going to get that quite yet. I think that the market is way too bearish. I think that everybody's thoroughly anticipating, lower. If we come down to these levels, everybody's going to start entering shorts, basically right at the lows, right? The traditional trickery. And if we come back through, reclaim that 1038, that's just potential for a run is really, really high. And like a really decent run, like multi-month. So we've been preparing for this for several months. The main short was up here at the monthly, obviously. So coming in at these levels, obviously you're taking a little risk. if you can get into one of them. And then, like I said, for me, the upside is you claim 1350, then that really changes, right? So that's like 17.5 for Bitcoin. It's like, if we start coming up and living above 1350, then things change, and potentially we have a little reversal on our hands. I just can't imagine coming down to these levels and not coming out and taking these lows at this point. And like I said, the timing makes sense and all kinds of things like that. But we're coming into my target here, so I'm going to probably give this up because I might have to switch over to my trading account here in a second. So, but yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the week progresses. I bring up the news only because last night, Bill Noble and I were on Debate Crypto, and we were discussing like what would be the news, right? And you just don't know. And that's the thing. We're preparing for this move already, and the news is whatever it's going to be, right? The news is always going to come out and make it make sense one way or the other, potentially, because even on this move up here, we were looking for a move up into these regions, both for Bitcoin at 18K and Ethereum at 1350, and then pullback. Nothing at the time. FOMC was good. Sam Bankman-Fried went to jail. All these things kind of aligned as far as good news went. And then, you still got the pullback, right? So, and then right here is when, like, I don't know, Binance comes out with a random, maybe it's insolvent or something like that. You're getting the news out of Japan now with the Bank of Japan. So it's just one of those things where just have a strategy, right? Like nothing is going to surprise us. That's for sure, right? If we wake up tomorrow to 528 ETH or $13,000 Bitcoin, or even if we push up to 19, like it's just the strategies are in place. Does take a lot of management. It's definitely not ape in season, right? You can't just ape into a coin. It's going to 50x. Like you have to. It's work now, right? And it's probably going to be like that for quite some time. So. It's kind of all I have. I'm pretty sure we actually just ran it up to 1230, didn't we? Pretty much. But yeah, you guys got anything else before we wrap up? I do want to mention one last thing. If anybody's interested, we have a special going on for the remainder of the year. If you're interested in joining our Leading Crypto Discord server, the information is down in our information box. And then also, if you go to leadingcrypto.io, you can join here as well. It'll give you a little rundown of what we offer in our community. Essentially, we've got a academy right here that's housed in this area. We got some reviews there if you're interested in that. Just go and click on membership plans. We are doing a half off first month special. So when you come into this region, right, just hit subscribe to the monthly offer, and then it's going to prompt you to add a promotional code, and this is going to be good for the rest of December, and it's BTC22. BTC22. Give you half off for the first month. So come in, give it a try. We pretty much are active 24/7 and always going through these things. So tomorrow we have another members only market update. Sundays we traditionally do. We won't have one this week because of Christmas. But other than that, I think that's about all we have for everybody tonight or today. All right. Sounds great. We'll see you all in the next video. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're on this beautiful world. And until then, cheers.